everyone, this is Jackie Jones with REMAX Elite Realty Group. So today I want to do a little bit of a different video. I want to share an experience that I went through a couple of weeks ago, and it's been weighing really heavily on me. And I think the reason that I really feel like I need to share it is because if someone who was not familiar with the real estate market was put in the same position, they may not have been able to overcome it the way that I had, the way that I did. So a couple weeks ago, later in the evening, I received a text message from someone that said that they were an investor and a cash buyer, but they didn't immediately identify themselves. And they didn't tell me who they were until I specifically asked. They were interested in doing a showing on one of my listings, and they wanted to see it the very next day. So I asked for their name, I verified it with the phone number, made sure that they were local, and once I put my normal safety measures in place, I went ahead and scheduled the showing. So when I got there the next day, the person I had originally communicated with and their spouse got out of the vehicle. We introduced ourselves, we exchanged pleasantries, I went to open the door. Everything seemed normal, but as soon as I opened the door, they went in complete opposite directions, just completely opposite directions. They didn't spend any more than a couple of seconds looking in any area of the house. The house was vacant, so I wasn't really concerned that they were trying to do anything nefarious. So I let them look around and just try to point out features as I could. But eventually, the person that I was communicating with the night before had asked me a question about one of the bathrooms. So we walked down the hallway, and the spouse was there, and they both cornered me at that point. And they started asking me about how I thought I could charge such a premium for this house. Now, mind you, this house had been updated and renovated and was in really good condition. But they started asking me why I was trying to charge such a premium. And the spouse kept making comments about how we were just trying to get a military family in there to use up their BAH, as if it was an insult, not realizing that I'm a military spouse. And her comment about it was that the paint was really ugly, the paint color was really ugly, and that no mom would want to put her baby in such an ugly room. So they kept coming at me. They were very aggressive, very confrontational, just, saying very obnoxious things like they were going to have to spend $75,000 just to get this house market ready, when I've already run all those numbers and it was on the market. And I finally turned it back on them because, they were very aggressive about it, but I had the data on my side. And I said, okay, well, what do you think needs to be done? And they both started talking about the paint. And I said, no, paint is super cheap. Like, paint, in the grand scheme of things, paint is super cheap. It's not amounting to $75,000. What other than the paint do you think needs to be done to this house? And at that point, they both started to flounder. They kind of looked at each other. They looked around the house really quick, and then they started talking about, well, I would tear this wall down and I would enclose this area, just things that have no impact on a probable sales price or what an appraiser would look at when they're looking at, determining what the value is. None of it had any impact on what this house should sell for. So I said, well, if you're interested in putting in an offer, I would be happy to present it to my sellers. But I work with investors who can, determine which of these things are necessary. I also, I'm in this market every single day. I can look at things that are necessary to determine whether or not they're going to impact the list price. And I also work with someone who owns a contracting business. So we can price out these things that you're concerned about that would actually impact the price so that we know that it's a fair offer. And at this point, they backed up towards the door. They literally opened the door backwards behind their back, waved goodbye, walked out, and then left. And I went around the house and turned off the 2 lights that they had turned on. By the time I got to the door to lock up, they had already jumped in their car, flown out the driveway, and was going down the road. So why am I telling you this? Well, because we've seen such an uptick in this type of predatory behavior over the last couple of years that the North Carolina Real Estate Commission has even included an entire section on wholesaling in this year's mandatory update for North Carolina real estate brokers, and Oklahoma passed a law trying to address it. This couple kept saying things like they've bought like 6 houses so they know what they're doing, but what they were really trying to do was convince me that my sellers did not deserve their hard-earned equity. I don't know why they tried this with a property that was listed with a real estate broker, because we generally see this type of behavior directed towards homeowners directly. Early in my real estate career, I was encouraged to attend an investor networking group. And the speaker the night that I attended bragged about how he had bought a property for $100,000 less than what it was worth, and then turned around and got a HELOC on it after only replacing 1 piece of vinyl flooring. He relished in the fact that he had persuaded this woman to sell the property for this price, knowing that she was desperate to get out of an abusive relationship, and even thought it was such great work on his part that when she started questioning how much he was telling her her home was really worth, that he threatened her with a lawsuit if she didn't follow through. This was the one and only meeting I attended because I was so disturbed by what I was hearing. Now, let me make myself clear. This is not every investor. I work with several who are genuinely looking for homeowners who just need to sell their property but can't afford to make repairs to get it market ready. That's not the same as someone who's aggressively trying to convince you that your home is worth much less than it is. This type of quick sale may be advantageous for homeowners, but you should never let someone try to convince you that small things that may not take a whole lot of money to fix are going to drastically change the value of your property. One of the biggest advantages of home ownership is the ability to earn equity. A home purchase is one of the biggest and best investments most people will make in their lifetime. Don't let someone try to talk you out of that investment. If you're in a situation where it makes sense to sell quickly, then get a second opinion on the price that they are offering to you. And ask specific questions about whether the person is going to attempt to assign the contract, and insist on proof of funds to show that they can complete the transaction. Get your own attorney so you can ask questions about the contract presented, and you can even hire an appraiser to get an opinion of value from someone who is trained and experienced to give that opinion. Thank you for listening to me tell you about my experience and why it matters to you. And if you have any questions about the real estate market in Onslow County, or if you would like to set a meeting with me, all of my contact information is in the description box below. And if you're working with a North Carolina real estate broker, remember to make sure that they go over the North Carolina Working with Real Estate Agents disclosure form with you at first substantial contact. If you don't know what that means, I have a video that I'm going to link in the description box below. Thank you for your time. I'll see you next time.